Hi folks, how are you doing? Another game of this World Championship match. The game number 8 has already finished, yet we have another draw. A very short and more or less peaceful game like yesterday's one we had today. Carlsen had white today, so he was under control. He had all the control of the game, and obviously a good day for him as he is leading in the score. And it's Anand who has to win, who has to risk, as he's now losing this World Championship match. So as I said, Magnus had white today, and he plays e4 for the first time in this World Championship match with white pieces. Previously had played c4, knight f3, closed positions. Now he plays e4, and just to see probably what Anand has prepared against e4, and Anand went with e5. Knight f3, knight c6, and we got the Spanish opening. Anand defending in a classical way, just like Carlsen did. So lots of options here, and Anand decides to go with knight f6. The Berlin defense, just the same way Carlsen has been doing in this tournament. Magnus decides to go for castling, and after knight takes e4, he goes rook e1, a slightly different approach to the more classical Berlin endgame we have seen in other games, which would follow with d4, some exchanges, queens exchange, and this was the Berlin endgame we saw in one of the previous games. But today Magnus chose this rook e1 move, just to continue with a quiet positional and slow game. Now knight d6 is the move. Knight takes e5, bishop e7. Note that here the knight cannot take the bishop here, because knight takes d6 check, discovered check, and the queen is going to be lost. So, and probably something like, instead of bishop e7, knight takes e5 will probably transpose into something very similar to the positions we will see in the game. So bishop e7. Now the black knight is threatening to take the bishop, so bishop goes back to f1. Now knight takes, rook takes, short castle. So this is another typical position rising from this Berlin variation. Very quiet, very positional. Neither side has lots of advantage here, so more or less a slow game. d4, bishop f6, very natural, attacking the rook. Rook e1, rook e8. Not the most common move played here, but still very natural. Knight f5, attacking the pawn twice, is the most played here. c3, d5, and the bishops will be placed in a natural square, but even though so white will not have any problem, but he will probably not have that much edge, because the pawn structure is symmetrical, and both players have very similarly developed piece, so no problem for either player should be here. But anyway, rook e8 was played here, and now c3 defending, and rooks were exchanged. Knight e8. Once again, Anand is not playing the most common move. This knight e8 has been played, for instance, in 2012 by Peter Hein Nielsen. As far as I know, one of the former seconds of Anand. So once again, we can see players following their seconds, the GMs. They are part of their groups of helpers. Their games, they are being followed. So now bishop f4, just natural moves. d5, bishop d3, nothing really strange. Now g6, very useful move. First it just protects this h7 pawn from threats with this bishop. It just keeps this bishop away from the king's position, and it gives some space for either the bishop, the knight to go to g7. Even the king could use this square, and it also controls this important f5 square. So now knight d2, natural developing moves, and now the knight goes to g7. Now white is preparing to put a piece on f5 and challenge this bishop. Queen e2, c6, protecting the center, rook e1, very natural moves. Nothing really exciting was going on here. Bishop f5, trying to exchange this bishop. So bishop takes, knight f3, relocating the knight. At this point it was almost clear that this game was going to end in a draw. The knight goes back to g7. Now bishop e5. The knight relocates to e6. Bishop takes, queen takes, knight e5. The knight is now a little bit better than this, but anyway, black is very solid. No real problems here. Rook e8. Now the knight attacks the queen goes back, and queen e5, threatening this not very subtle check here on f6 to take the exchange. But of course, there are lots of ways of defending here, but Anand chose the most imaginative one, which in fact forces lots of exchange. Knight g7, interesting moment, because it seems that white could be in problem, because now the queen is attacked by the rook, which is protected by the knight and the queen cannot move to either place because the rook is hanging here, and it would be checkmate. But in fact, white has no problem here, because he has this funny combination, taking on e8. Now black must take with the knight, otherwise now check, and he's losing the exchange. Now white is winning, but of course he takes with the bishop, and the point is that white has sacrificed the queen for the time being, but he's going to recover it very soon. Rook takes e8, the queen must take, and now knight f6 check, queen there, knight takes, queen takes. Now the pawn structure is absolutely symmetric, and there is no way to win this. Otherwise, one of them blunders, which of course we're not going to see at this level. And now we have a couple of moves just to block everything. Interesting enough here, white played h3. It's funny because just speculating maybe to play g4 and create some imbalances. So black plays h6 at the same time, but then white says, no, I'm just going to block. Black says, well, I will do it as well, and they agreed to draw. So yet another game drawn, just 4 games to be played, and it seems difficult that playing in this way, just solidly and not risking too much, Anand will have chances to recover the 2 points he's down in the score. But let us see. Just let another 4 games to be played, and everything could happen. Thanks for watching.